Hi everyone, in this video we're going to talk about dynamically computed keys in ES6. The first part of this video will be a short example of this feature, and the second part of this video will correspond to desugaring it into ES5 code today. I know that dynamically computed keys sounds really strange, but really all that phrase means is that we can now use variables to define properties on objects. In code, this feature looks like the following. Let's just start out by declaring a variable called key, and we'll just set it equal to the string foo. Now we can dynamically compute a property for the object O by putting the variable key inside of these brackets. This results in an object with a key of foo that has a value of bar. Pretty cool, yeah? So to desugar this feature, or to understand what it's actually doing behind the scenes, let's take a look at how we would write this in ES5 today. To start off, in ES5 there is a method on the object prototype called defineProperty. This method takes in an object, a property, and an object known as a descriptor that will define a set of rules regarding the property that we are defining on the object. The defineProperty method will actually return the modified object so we can write the following code. Let's set the variable obj or object to the results of defining the property foo on an empty object. The descriptor object takes in two required properties, configurable and enumerable. It can also take two optional properties, writable and value. You can think of the configurable property as defining whether or not we can change the property's descriptor, such as changing enumerable to false after defining the property. The enumerable property just defines whether or not we can iterate through the key, or whether or not when we iterate through the keys of the object, will this property show up. Writable just states whether or not the property can be modified, and the value is just the value of the object property. So for the configurable property that I was talking about earlier, we can see that if configurable is set to false, then we get an error saying that we cannot redefine foo. Going back to our earlier ES6 example, we could write the following in ES5, and it would be the exact same thing as the computed property key. In fact, we could write a function that mimics this functionality so we wouldn't have to type it out every time. Let's make a modified defineProperty method that takes in an object, a key, and a value, and just returns object.defineValue with the object and the key, all of these flags set to true, and then the value corresponding to the value given to the function. And we can actually use it like this by saying var o equals to defineProperty of an empty object, the string foo, which will be the key, and then the value bar. So we can think of dynamically computed keys like this. Let's redeclare our key variable to the string foo. We'll say in ES6 what we can do is const o is going to be equal to this object literal with the key property between these square brackets, and it's going to be set to the value bar. What this becomes, or what it desugars into, is what we had before with the defineProperty method on an empty object, with the key being key, which has the value foo, and then the value of this property will be bar, and the result of this will be the object with a key of foo and a value bar. And that's it. I hope you found this video useful. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Thanks!